Hey, my name is James Nicholson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, today we're going to talk about should you use the government's 5% deposit scheme? It's also called the Mortgage Guarantee Scheme. Is that something that you should consider using if you want to buy a residential property or you're a first-time buyer? Now, this video is not our normal content. We're normally talking about property investing, but I know a lot of people that watch this channel, they really want to get into the property world, maybe to buy their own house. Now, the Mortgage Guarantee Scheme has been around a year now, and the 5% scheme. And so this is a great way to get into property, because when you get your first property, that's when you can start building up some equity. And then when you do that, that in the future could be used to buy investment properties. So this channel is all about my investment journey, and I want to bring you along on that journey with me. We'll grow my portfolio and a portfolio for my two girls, Georgia and Amelie. So while you're here, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell notification. So the 5% deposit scheme, it's been running around a year now. It was expected to finish at the end of 2022, and it's been extended. So should you use that if you're looking to be a first-time buyer? That's who it's really focused on, and it's only first-time buyers that can actually use this scheme. Should you use this? Now, this gives you the opportunity to get into property with a much lower deposit. So I would say that you should use it and you shouldn't use it. So I'm going to go into detail on that. So let's have a look at some numbers here. And so if we were looking, let's look at a 200 grand house. So normally on a residential mortgage where you buy it that you're going to live in the property, normally you need at least a 10% deposit. So on a normal property, you're going to need £20,000. Now, if you're living at home, that might be reasonable that you could, over a few years, especially if you've got a partner, save that kind of money up. If you're renting, it gets that a little bit harder to do, doesn't it? And so this is why the government has introduced the Mortgage Guarantee Scheme. And what that does is it reduces the amount that you need to put in. And normally a bank wouldn't lend to you at just 5%. As a deposit. So that what they're saying is if you wanted to buy for 200 grand, you could now buy with 10 grand, which is way more realistic, right? Way more realistic. Now, the reason that a bank wouldn't lend to you with just 5% is the market can fluctuate that in just a few months. So there's a lot more risk to the bank. And so how we've taken this risk away from the bank is that the government is going to guarantee if you stop paying your payments and the house got repossessed, the government will make up any money lost to the bank. And that's obviously means that they're more likely to lend. This is similar to how we had in the pandemic. We had something called bounce back loans. And so trust me, if you're a business owner and you want to borrow money, it's almost impossible as a business owner to borrow money. But these bounce back loans, because the government guaranteed them, they came out very fast. I'm a business coach and mentor as well. And I had clients that were getting £50,000 in their bank the next day. In some instances, some people had a real difficult time with it, but it was pretty straightforward. And so this is the point of the 5% deposit scheme. Now, what are the pros? The pros are that you're obviously going to save less money, right? So it's a lot easier to save 10 grand than it is to save 20 grand. And so if you've got a partner as well, you could get there. You only got to put £5,000 in each, which is good, right? And so that's a fairly positive thing there. Now, the cons are the interest rate you're going to get is going to be worse. And so that's something that you've got to take into consideration, because that means your monthly payments are going to be higher. One, you're borrowing more. So on this one, you're going to be borrowing 180k. This one, you're going to be borrowing 190k. But what we're saying is the interest rate is going to be actually higher because you're more risk to the bank. And so they're going to give you at least a 0.5% higher interest rate. And so that's what you need to figure in on your numbers. And so if you are able to get to 10%, you're going to get a much better interest rate, and you're actually going to get exposed to more lenders. So there's going to be more opportunity there. So there's pros and cons of both. Now, would I suggest someone to get onto the 5% scheme? Absolutely. Like if it gets you onto the property ladder and you're not going to get to this 20,000 level, because maybe you couldn't save 10,000, but maybe you've inherited that or you were gifted that from family members. And if that got you onto the property ladder, then I think it's a good thing. Right? I think it's a good thing if you're renting, especially because rent is pretty much dead money. And so that is a good thing, but you need to make sure that you can afford it, right? So you shouldn't be going in really stretched to your maximum thinking that monthly payment is going to be really, really hard. If you can afford to do it, I would say get on with a 10% deposit. If you have the option of both and it's a case of keeping that money in your pocket, or if this is the first investment, I think it's better to just go with that slightly bigger deposit if you can get there. But if it's going to take you 2 more years to save that additional £10,000, then the market's going to have gone up so much in that time, it's going to be not as cost effective. So I think if you've got to make that decision, can you afford 10%? If you can, that's going to be the better option for sure. If you can't, I would say this is a great scheme. It's not going to be open forever. We had the Help to Buy scheme before, after the last big drop in house prices in 2008. And so this scheme has been extended a year. And I think it would be a good thing, and I would advise people to look at it, but make sure you know your numbers. I think your next step really is to speak to a mortgage broker, because the mortgage broker is going to be the person that can get you those figures. They can do those calculations for you and say, look, with 5%, this is your monthly payments. With 10%, this is your monthly payments. And then you need to figure out, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to have a lower monthly payment, or would you prefer to actually just put less down up front? Those are different options, and both options work for different people. But if it's a case of getting into the property market, I think it is a great scheme, and I think it will get you started. It will start building you some equity. You'll build some equity even if the market doesn't go up or down, because you'll be paying off some of that mortgage that you owe, because you'll be on a repayment mortgage. And that's great. And in 10 years, you'll look back on this, and that 200 grand house potentially could be 400 grand. Or if the market hasn't moved very quickly, it's definitely going to be worth at least 250, 300,000 pounds. And that's going to build you solid wealth that then you can release some of that equity and then get into investment properties. Hope that makes sense, guys. But I think it's a good scheme. I think it should be looked at, and it's a great opportunity. It won't be there forever. So if you're looking to get into property, you want to buy your own house, this could be a great way to start. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do like the video. Subscribe to the channel, guys. We've got new content every single day on growing a property business. That's it from me. Go and check out this video right here. Bye for now.